What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Bronx and Big Blue Breakdown. I'm your host, Brady Heslin, and I feel like I say this every single week, but especially this week, we have a lot to talk about here on the podcast. First, the Giants lose an absolute heartbreaker to the Dallas Cowboys, 40-37. The Yankees go 500 over the week, drop the series to Detroit, but defeat the Boston Red Sox. So let's get right into it. So I think we kind of have to go Giants first and then Yankees for this episode because what a game we saw yesterday for the New York Giants. Just there were about 10 times where I thought they were going to win the game, and then another 10 where I thought they were absolutely cooked and were going to lose the game. So let's get right into it. Let's start with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was phenomenal. He looked like exactly what I wanted the Giants to bring him in for with that deep ball and just put that on steroids. That's how good Russell Wilson looked yesterday. He was 30 for 41, 450 yards. His career high is 452, so he was 3 shy from setting a career high. 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, a fumble that went out of bounds. I have him down for 3 sacks that the Giants allowed, but I think 2 of them were kind of on him. There was the one that was, I know at least James Hudson gave up a sack. And then, so yeah, let's just get into Russell Wilson here. So the deep ball was phenomenal. The deep ball was everything it was advertised to be and then some. It just felt like he was just, I think I saw this somewhere on X, where it feels like Russell Wilson just throws the ball, or not even throws it, he just like walks the ball to the receivers. Like it is just right in their hands, right where they need it to be. It feels like every single time on that deep ball, where last week versus Washington, I felt like everything was underthrown and it was just a touch off. But, I mean, Russell Wilson was finding Wan'Dale up the seam. He had Neighbors deep a couple times. He had Slayton once and drew a defensive pass interference on another one from Slayton. Just Russell Wilson was phenomenal until the overtime period where it was like second and short. There was a defender coming in his face. I think he was going to try to like pump fake it, just take the sack. Ball comes out of his hand, goes backwards. Thankfully, it got out of bounds. I think Scadaboo was one of the ones near it that got it out of bounds. That just scared the crap out of me right there. I mean, I was so scared. Like that ball's just rolling there. I'm like, just please go out of bounds. It does, thankfully. And then obviously on the Giants' last drive of overtime, Russ throws a bad interception where you can't really, I don't really know what he was thinking. I don't know if it was a miscommunication. I don't know if it was just flat out inaccuracy. I don't really know what that was, but it was really bad. I believe Bobby Skinner, he posted something where last season the Giants completed 14 deep passes all year. So that's not even one a game. Russell Wilson at 7 alone in this game. So he had half of the Giants' deep passes for all of last year in this game. That's what Russell Wilson needs to do. He now has bought himself more time. The Jackson Dart talk is going to go to bed for at least another 2 weeks, I would say. He'd have to be absolutely terrible in the next 2 weeks, I believe, for him to be benched. This is great for the Giants, I think. I said this last week. Best case scenario for the Giants is Russ just goes out there and balls out, and Dart can get all the time he needs. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, you're not going to see a better game from Russell Wilson at this point in his career than what we saw yesterday, I believe, at least. But let's talk about the wide receivers now, Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson. I posted this. Wan'Dale, this is his legacy game. This is probably the best game of his career. He was 8 for 142 and a touchdown. He was just wide open on the seam or in the seam all game. Dallas was not defending it. Matt Eberflus is a terrible defensive coordinator for how he called that game yesterday. I mean, the Giants are just hitting that like drive after drive after drive, just Wan'Dale up the seam, Wan'Dale up the seam. He was just wide open, it felt like. And I wasn't huge on Wan'Dale coming into the year. I didn't think he really played to Russell Wilson's strengths, but I'm wrong. I'm wrong. He's 6th right now in receiving in the NFL. Malik Neighbors is number 1. And Russell Wilson is also leading the NFL in passing. Just don't look below Russell Wilson in the leaderboard. Just focus on Russell Wilson at number 1. Don't worry about who's at number 2. Trying to think. Yeah, Slayton and Theo Johnson got involved. Theo didn't have a drop. Thankfully, Slayton had his first catch of the year and drew the defensive pass interference. I thought Slayton might be a little bit more involved, but I think Wan'Dale kind of took some of the targets there because I figured, the Giants should be able to exploit Kyer Elam, and they did. Cowboys fans, I would be so mad at Matt Eberflus if I was Cowboys fans. Why is Kyer Elam guarding Malik Neighbors in the final minute of the game? I know Neighbors was also cooking Trayvon Diggs, but I'd rather go down with Trayvon Diggs than Kyer Elam. He's terrible. Scadaboo looks like the RB1. He played, I want to say it was 71% of the snaps. I have it on my phone here. Scadaboo. He was... Javonte Williams was 71%. I was looking at the wrong thing. Miles Sanders was 23%. But Scadaboo did play majority of the snaps. He played 51%. Tracy was 42%. And Singletary was 6%. So I'd imagine we'll start to see at least more of a split between Tracy and Scadaboo. Scadaboo is just one of those guys where it feels like you need a yard, he'll get you 3. You need 6, he'll get you 3. He's not going to be a huge average guy. I mean, he was 11 for 45 and a touchdown, but he had a long of 24. Tracy was 5 for 15 with a long of 9. So it's tough to say. The run game, they're just not getting much push up front with the offensive line. And let's get into the offensive line now. So I'm trying to decide if I should save my James Hudson talk for now, or I'm going to save it for the duds. Spoiler alert, I think you probably already knew that was coming, but so James Hudson does some things, and Marcus Bowe comes into the game, and he plays well. It gives up 1 pressure, 1 QB hit, but for a guy that has barely played left tackle and is a 5th-round rookie, I know he's not going against the greatest competition with Dallas's edge group, but he looked great. I mean, I didn't hear Marcus Bowe's name on the broadcast at all. I didn't really notice him, which is good. If you don't notice an offensive lineman, that means they're probably doing their job. So shout out Marcus Bowe. John Runyon pitched a shutout. No pressures, no QB hits, no sacks, nothing. John Michael Schmitz, kind of similar thing as Marcus Bowe. I didn't really see anything totally wrong there. Him and Van Roten kind of similarly. I just don't think they get much push in the run game. But Russ had a lot more time to throw today, which is great. And Illuminor, I believe, did he have a false start or something? I think, again, didn't really hear his name. Offensive line was better, just still not getting as much push in the run game, but the pass blocking looked a lot better, especially when James Hudson got out of the game. So not a bad game from the offensive line. They just need Andrew Thomas. I've seen some people floating around the idea if the Giants should go Thomas, Runyon, JMS, Illuminor, and Bowe when Thomas gets back. I wouldn't do that. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't like shuffling the offensive line a ton. I think you just put Thomas back at left tackle. Bowe can go back to the bench. I think Bowe should definitely be the swing tackle over James Hudson. That's for sure. But when you have a good tackle, you don't move them. Like Drain Illuminor, I'd consider him a good tackle. I would not move him inside. I would keep him out there at right tackle. And Van Roten, it's not like he's awful. He's not an advantage. But is it worth moving Illuminor into right guard, having to shift Bowe over to right tackle just to have Bowe in over Van Roten? I don't really think that's super beneficial. And now let's get to the defense. So I'm going to save another person for the duds. But the secondary really, really failed late. I mean, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens were really quiet. I mean, I think CeeDee Lamb was 3 for 37 going into the fourth quarter, and then he ended up at 9 for 112. So just from a box score perspective, CeeDee Lamb looks like he had a great game. He really wasn't. He was very quiet. Same thing with George Pickens. I know Pickens had one catch, I believe, through 3 quarters. I have on my fantasy team. He ended up with 5 for 68 and a touchdown. Deontay Banks I feel like was consistently getting cooked, and he shows minimal effort in the run game. I'd say I'm officially on the Cordell Flott over Deontay Banks train. Cordell Flott had a nice pass breakup yesterday. Paulson Adebo was frustrating, man. I mean, he dropped a pick. Like, this is what we brought you in for. Same thing with Javon Holland. I think the Giants had 3 dropped interceptions this game, and Dak fumbled a snap. They got lucky in that regard. Dak got really lucky. I mean, his box score, he was 38 for 52, 361, 2 touchdowns and a pick. I think he looked worse than what the box score would say. Kind of similar to Washington last week. There's missed opportunities, except the missed opportunities for Washington last week were Washington issues. I feel like the missed opportunities this week were Giants problems. Just trying to look through here and see if anything else. Oh, Jake Ferguson had a big game. I was kind of expecting that with Micah McFadden out, and then Muasau gets hurt during the game as well. So the Giants are down to they have Okereke, Chris Board, Swayze Bowman. I mean, a guy that they literally signed last week from the practice squad. I think they need to bring in someone at inside linebacker this week. Let's see, who are the free agents middle linebackers or just linebackers in general? There's got to be something better out there than, Eric Kendricks, Devondre Campbell, Jamin Davis, Isaiah Simmons just got cut. I don't know if they'd want to bring him back, but there's guys out there that are better than what they have right now. So I think they definitely need to explore that this week. You cannot roll Chris Board and Swayze Bowman out there next week, especially when you're facing Travis Kelce. I know he's not the player. At least I don't think he's the player he used to be, but he's still a top 8 to 10 tight end in the NFL, probably higher than that, maybe. I don't know. Depends if you're talking playoffs or not. Feels like he always steps up in the playoffs, but especially early in the regular season, doesn't really do a ton. 64-yarder to go to overtime. I mean, when Ferguson caught that pass, I was like, okay, we're going to overtime. I didn't really think about it. I have another interesting stat here. I think this is insane. The stat that I found. Let me just find it really quick. So the Giants have conceded 4 60-plus yard field goals in the final seconds, which ties or sets the record for most by any team per the Grok, or I don't know how to say it, the AI on X. So they gave up a 61-yarder to Jake Elliott in 2017, a 63-yarder to Graham Gano in 2018, a 61-yarder to Greg Joseph in 2022, and a 64-yarder yesterday to Brandon Aubrey. That's just unlucky. There's no real way around it. And another interesting stat that I found regarding the Giants is they're 0-2 for the 10th time in the last 13 years. They have the worst record in the NFL since 2017. They're 40-93-1, and they're 11-31-1 under Brian Daboll since he started his head coaching career 7-2. Not good numbers for year 4 of a regime. I don't want to get into this conversation too much at this point, but I do think Brian Daboll can be a good coach in the NFL. I think he's had a really weird situation with the Giants, with Daniel Jones and all that. It's just been weird. I don't think Joe Shane's done him a ton of favors, to be honest, but I'm finding it hard to believe that he will be a good coach for the Giants. I think it's pretty possible that he could go somewhere else, be a great offensive coordinator again, and get hired in a year. I think that's certainly possible. But I don't want to talk too much about the Jackson Dart stuff, but I mean, if he comes in and plays well, then that probably buys him time, but whatever. That's not really what this is about. I just found this interesting stat. I set myself a bunch of stats I wanted to talk about here. Last thing, penalties. Penalties, man. I mean, the Giants had 14 penalties for 160 yards. I know Dallas had 12 penalties. Part of it is, I think, on the officiating. I thought the Drew Phillips unnecessary roughness was soft. I thought the CeeDee Lamb taunting was soft. I thought the Roy Robertson Harris roughing the passer was like, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do there? I mean, I don't know. They also had another 7 that were declined or offset. So they lost actually 213 yards when you consider the 48 yards that they lost on the opening kickoff and the Wan'Dale Robinson catch where James Hudson had the unnecessary roughness on the first drive. But yeah, Dan Duggan was where I got that from, by the way. Shout out Dan Duggan. I think he's probably the best Giants reporter. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I mean, one thing I do want to say, I'm going to bring this up every week. Special teams has been solid. Got to keep it going. I feel like the Giants lose 1 game a year on special teams. The 2 games that they have lost so far have not been on special teams. Graham Mano has been perfect. Jamie Gillen's been great. Garner Olszewski had a great return. Garner's kind of proven me wrong. I mean, I knew he was a good returner. It's just I thought Smith Marset is better. He hasn't done anything bad yet, which is good. So, shout out special teams. Final note before, I'm going to talk about it more during the studs and duds and whatever, but it's crazy how much different Giants fans, including myself, would be feeling about the season if they had just won that game. Because you're 1-1, got a win in Dallas, finally got that monkey off your back. Haven't won in Dallas. It'll be 10 years because 2026 is their next opportunity to win in Dallas, unless they somehow play them in the playoffs, which I would bet my kidney that that's not going to happen. But yeah, so haven't won in Dallas. It'll be 10 years. 1-1. Just we can talk all about the offense and just feeling great. All the momentum going back home to play Kansas City. They're 0-2, but we're also 0-2, and we lose a heartbreaker, and it sucks, man. It really sucks. I feel like that was. I feel like I keep saying one last point, but that was probably. I mean, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but like that might have been the hardest and just most heartbreaking loss I've experienced. The loss to Philly in the playoffs sucked, but they just got blown out. They got absolutely blown out. I mean, the game was basically over in the second quarter. The game against the Vikings in the regular season sucked. That was the Greg Joseph field goal, but the Giants were in a different spot in their season at that point. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head here. The Commanders tie really sucked in 2022 because I was actually at that game and it just sucked seeing a tie. But yeah, I can't really think off the top of my head of they lost to Dallas this was a while ago. Cole Beasley had a walk-off touchdown. That really sucked. It just feels like when the Giants played Dallas, they're right there. The 2020 loss sucked as well. I thought they were going to win that game. They didn't. Thursday night against Philly, where Evan Ingram dropped the ball, that sucked. All right, I'm getting off on a tangent here, but all in all, absolutely sucked. Just ripped my heart out. I mean, when Neighbors scored that touchdown, I was like, yeah, so I also knew it was not over. I knew they had all 3 timeouts. They still had time. But yeah, all right. Sorry I spent 20 minutes on that, but let's get now to the Yankees. So they lose the series versus Detroit. They do, thankfully, they win the last game, but they looked really bad in the first 2. They were outscored 23-3, and they just had innings where they would just implode. Absolutely implode. We'll get to that more for my dud, but the game 1, it was 3-2, and the Yankees give up a 6-run inning. And next thing you know, it's 10-2, and the game's over. Similar thing happened in game 2, but they go on to win 3 of the next 4. They win the series versus the Boston Red Sox, cannot complete the sweep. One thing I do want to specifically talk about is Will Warren versus good teams. He's really bad. He's really bad versus good teams. I have a stat here. Just have to find it. Sorry, I have a bunch of stuff on my phone because I'm trying to be more like precise with my stats. Will Warren's numbers versus playoff teams are not a fun thing to look at. This is from John Boy. This is after the second inning, so it's probably not exact, but it's close. He has 49 and a third innings pitched with a 7.3 ERA. Even worse is the third time the runs have come. His first time through the order. He gave up 4 earned in the first, 6 earned in the second to the Dodgers, 7 earned in the first to Toronto, and then 6 earned in the first to Boston yesterday. So he's bad versus good teams, and he's bad in the first inning. I don't see how this is a guy that can get a playoff start. He's the number 5 starter in my mind right now. A question for the fan mailbag later, I'm not going to answer right now, is what do you think the Yankees playoff rotation should be as of right now? I'm going to get into that, but Will Warren, I mean, he has some games where I'm like, yeah, he's money. Like that sweeper's really good. Like he just looks solid. And there's games where like, are you sure you're a big leaguer? Because I mean, he has super high highs and super low lows. Judge passes DiMaggio for fourth all time in home runs. Once again, I'm going to say it. He's going to go down as the best right-handed hitter ever. You can debate me, whatever you want. I genuinely believe that. I think, honestly, you can make an argument right now, but when it's all said and done, Aaron Judge will be the best right-handed hitter of all time. Just my opinion. Volpe, no Volpe for 5 straight games. My dad, I know he's listening to this. He has been saying that Volpe has been having like a shoulder issue. He's been saying this for months now, and it finally comes out. Something happened in like early May with his left shoulder, had to get a cortisone shot. I don't know why this isn't an IL stint. He could certainly use it. I was honestly in the boat like a week or 2 ago of just phantom ILing Volpe. Now he has like a legitimate injury, out for 5 games. Just throw him on the 10-day. Let him reset. You can have Caballero can play short. Rosario can play short. Like you have guys that can do it. Let him just reset a little bit. He clearly needs it. I mean, I don't see how he can be the playoff shortstop. I think Caballero is – there's nothing Caballero does bad, and there's nothing Volpe does good. So I think Caballero should be getting a majority of those starts. I know he is flexible, but let's say they have to start, maybe Stanton in the outfield 1 game or so. I don't know. You can always move Caballero to right and put Volpe in at short. I mean, if that's something that has to happen. And yeah, I mean, he's just been great since coming to the Yankees, and I think he deserves to play more. A couple more notes. David Bendar is a dog. This guy is, I feel like he's just nails, and I love that he can throw more than an inning. He didn't really do it much in Pittsburgh, but he can do it for the Yankees, and that's a weapon, really, because, I mean, you got Bendar can do it, Weaver can do it, so, I mean, that's just great for the back end of your bullpen. The Yankees scored a run off Aroldis Chapman. That's another thing I wanted to point out. Just a great at-bat from Cody Bellinger in that game. Judge smokes a single, and Bellinger hits one off the wall, and Judge scores. Last thing I wanted to mention is Donald Trump was at the game on 9/11. Regardless what you think of him, I think it's cool to have a president at a game like that. Saw him in the locker room. I just think it's cool, a cool thing for the Yankees, getting a lot of, I mean, they already have a huge national attention, but I mean, this was like pretty big news and whatnot. So I thought that was pretty interesting there. So all in all, Yankees go 3-3 on the last week. They go 7-5 overall in the stretch. I said they needed to go at least 500. They did that. I wanted them to go like 8-4, would have like really elevated them. The problem is they go 7-5. Toronto went 8-4. So they're even further back now in the AL East, and a few other teams have made up some ground in the wild card. But I'm not worried about the Yankees missing the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. Right now, they're down 4 with 12 to go for Toronto. So we'll get into that a little bit more, looking into the future about whether or not, I feel like they have a shot to win the division. So I think I pretty much hit on everything there. I'm going to take a sip of water. Then we're going to get into the studs and duds. All right. For the Giants, I have 3 studs. I can't pick between one. Russell Wilson, Malik Neighbors, and Wan'Dale Robinson. Russell Wilson had, I would think this is probably his best game since he left Seattle. He obviously deserves a stud. Throws for 450, 3 touchdowns. People trying to blame the game on Russ, you're just wrong. Like, Russ kept the Giants in this game. Like, if the Giants had, I don't want to say the name, but like a Daniel Jones from last year, or even Jackson Dart or Jameis Winston, like Russell Wilson's deep ball kept the Giants in this game. I know like it was up to Neighbors and Robinson to get open, and that's also why they're duds. But Russ was just like, they're just perfect moon balls, just absolutely perfect. The Football Grump said this. I listened to a bit of the Giants Nation show podcast about how he wishes that Russ had this game week 1, because then, the Jackson Dart stuff wouldn't have been too big and fans would have been like all in on Russ and his moonball and whatnot. But he's definitely bought himself at least, the minimum is 2 weeks. I think even if he goes and just plays completely god-awful against Kansas City, I don't see how you can bench someone when 2 weeks ago they threw for 450 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I think he's definitely got the game versus Kansas City and the Chargers. See how that goes. I think he'd have to be like how he was week 1, but probably even worse than that for these 2 games for him to get benched. I believe they have the New Orleans the next game, although that would be a decent game to get Dart in. I don't think that's going to happen. So shout out Russell Wilson, and then Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson. Already kind of talked about them. It's crazy when you have a guy go for 140 and he's not even, or 142, and he's not even your leading receiving leader. It was Malik Neighbors with 167. So those are the studs, the duds. I've purposefully not talked about these 2 because I think these 2 guys should have been left in Dallas. James Hudson's number 1. If I have to see James Hudson on the football field for anything other than a special teams play, I am questioning the coaching severely, because this guy single-handedly took 4 points off the board for the Giants, which obviously, it's tough to say because the game could have went differently and this and that, but like 4 penalties on 1 drive is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The Giants would have first and goal at the 2 instead they're first and goal at the 17. He's making mental mistakes with the false starts. Like, he gave up a sack as well on the 1 drive that he played. And then he has the audacity to scream at people on the sideline, and it takes like 5 or 6 of your teammates to calm me down, including the guy that's coming in for you. That's ridiculous, man. Why are you being a head case when you're awful? Like, you're genuinely one of the worst tackles in the NFL, and you're screaming because you got benched because you had 4 penalties and gave up a sack. Like, get out of here, man. The Giants caught him today. I'd be celebrating that. A guy like him does not deserve to be in an NFL locker room. And this does partially fall in the coaching with Brian Dable, Shane Bowen. We'll get him in a second, but you can't let stuff like this slide. That's part of the reason why you have 14 accepted penalties and another 7 that were declined or offset, because you got to teach the little things. You can't let stuff slide like this. James Hudson's been false starting he was false starting all training camp. Obviously, it's going to translate here, but part of it also falls on him. The one where he clubbed, I forget who it was, but he clubbed the edge rusher in the head. I understand what he's trying to do there. He's trying to club him in the shoulder, which is a football play, but he slipped, drilled him in the head. That's a penalty. But the unnecessary roughness, why are you elbowing a guy in the neck and driving him to the ground? Like, it's just so stupid. So Marcus Bowe needs to be starting left tackle next week if Thomas can't go. He needs to be starting every week unless Thomas can't go. Let's say he looks awful. You're still not putting James Hudson in there. I'd rather Marcus Bowe get run through like 4 times a game than have to see James Hudson on the field ever again. I'm being serious. There's probably a genuine debate whether I'd rather have Evan Neal or James Hudson active next week. Like, that's a debate I'd be willing to have. Is it a good one? Absolutely not. I think I'd rather sign Stone Forsythe back or something than have to do something like that. I mean, it's just a disaster. I feel better now, honestly, getting all that off my chest because, man, that was just like, go play in the USFL. That's where I'm at. And then my other dud is Shane Bowen. He's like almost a James Hudson level. Just the play calling is horrific. Especially, I mean, where do I even start? Let's start with the last drive of regulation. You know Brandon Aubrey has a boot. Brian Daboll admitted that in his press conference. They knew Aubrey has a boot. Everyone knows that. He's probably the best kicker in the NFL, or at least he's up there, and he has one of the strongest legs, if not the strongest leg. By the way, that kick was probably good from 75, and I'm being serious. But anyways, and then Daboll also said they played tight coverage. No, they did not. You have guys sitting 10, 15 yards off the ball, like back, playing basically prevent. And then when they snap the ball, you're backpedaling. Why are you backpedaling? I would rather have seen, even if it's Deonte Banks, I would rather seen Deonte Banks pressing and getting burned than sitting back like how they did, just sitting at the 50-yard line. They don't even have to get to the 50-yard line. As soon as they get to the logo, they're basically in field goal range. But they're sitting back at the logo. As soon as the ball gets snapped, they're dropping back. Obviously, Jake Ferguson's going to be wide open right over the middle of the field. All he has to do, catch it, go down. They run a draw play. Javonte gets a couple yards, timeout, boom. They're 64-yarder. That's like a 34-yarder for most kickers for Brandon Aubrey. Goes through, sneaks by the right upright, and we're going to overtime, and the rest is history. Shane Bowen, he should have been fired this offseason. The only reason he wasn't fired is because I think Daboll, Shane, they all knew they weren't going to get who they wanted because this would be their 3rd defensive coordinator in their 4th season with Daboll and Shane both on the hot seat. They knew they weren't going to get who they wanted, so they just stuck with Shane Bowen. He's terrible. He gives the Giants no advantage ever. Like, he doesn't scheme anything to give them any sort of advantage. He's just there, and he's terrible. So, James Hudson, Shane Bowen should have been left in Dallas. They're terrible. You are my duds. And I would say, I have my dud leaderboard pulled up. I would say, it's tough. I mean, probably Anthony Volpe, Shane Bowen, and James Hudson are like my top 3 duds so far doing this. I've said everything I need to say. All right, for the Yankees, I have the stud being Aaron Judge. He is the first 2-time stud in the history of the Bronx and Big Blue Breakdown. He hit 450, 5 home runs, 4 walks, past DiMaggio. He's the MVP. I mean, he's the clear favorite now. I don't think it's particularly close. Cal has the home runs and he catches. That's about all. That's about all he's got. Sorry, Hudson. Bowen got me fired up. But yeah, that's about all he's got going for him. Aaron Judge is the MVP. Best player in the league, in my opinion. Aaron Judge, you are my stud. Unfortunately, they were all solo shots, which sucks. But yeah, I mean, he had a bomb over the monster. And then he homered off Crochet as well. Just Aaron Judge, you are just amazing. And the dud is Fernando Cruz. Man, I mean, he was like coming off the IL. He was like going to be this big addition and pitched 2 innings, gave up 7 earned runs. He did have 5 strikeouts, but walked 4. The game against Detroit where they just imploded, he just couldn't throw a strike. He was just bouncing pitches, and then they bring in Mark Leiter, and he's bouncing pitches. Like, it was bad. It was really hard to watch. He didn't even get an out and gave up 5 earned runs. The ERA is now over 4 on the season. I mean, his stuff is nasty. It's just he doesn't throw enough strikes, and he's been a little prone to the long ball recently. So, Fernando Cruz, you are the dud for the week. So I want to kind of go over the studs and duds leaderboards. This is the 4th episode in no particular order of the episodes. Here are the studs. So Giancarlo Stanton, Jackson Dart, Brian Burns, Max Fried, Russell Wilson, Malik Neighbors, and Wan'Dale Robinson. They all have 1. Aaron Judge has 2. Now for the duds. All these guys only have 1. It is Anthony Volpe, Evan Neal, Jalen Hyatt, Brian Dable, Mike Kafka, Paul Goldschmidt, Shane Bowen, James Hudson, and Fernando Cruz. So those are all the duds. One guy I did not shout out, I was considering making him a stud, is Mike Kafka, because I thought he called a really good game. They still struggled in the red zone, but I thought he called a really good game, playing to Russ's strengths. And I just keep thinking about Wan'Dale and that seam. They just kept throwing it. They just kept throwing it. And Dallas made no adjustment. So shout out Mike Kafka. He definitely redeemed himself a bit in this game. Let me get one more swig of water, and then we will get to a bit of the fan mailbag. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to lie, I kind of forgot to post the fan mailbag. I was busy yesterday. I'm not allowed to have my phone in school, so I kind of just forgot about it. But I do have a few questions I want to answer. The one for the Giants, I want to talk a little bit more about the running back situation with Scadaboo and Tracy. I honestly think it should be kind of like a running back by committee thing going forward. I know. I mean, I love watching Cam Scadaboo. Angry Runs is what I call him because of that shirt, and he won the award or whatever week 1. I love watching him, but he should not just be the primary starter. Tracy still needs reps. I think we forgot how good Tracy was last year. He probably was a little overrated because he was a rookie, but still, he was very solid, and he shouldn't just completely lose his job. And I think Singletary getting a carry or 2 a game isn't going to hurt anything, but I think it should be kind of be like running back by committee, like what they did yesterday. Should Scadaboo be the like red zone back? I mean, I don't really know who else. I mean, maybe Devin Singletary, honestly, because like yes, Scadaboo can run through people. He's just like small. Like I don't know. I feel like when you like down at like the 1 or 2 yard line, I don't trust Scadaboo as much as I do him running through people like at any other point. So that's my thoughts about the running back. I'm trying to think if there's any other, maybe common questions that people might have right now. I think I've pretty much touched on everything. Maybe talk about Dexter Lawrence a little bit. He still hasn't quite looked like himself. I mean, if he could have just caught that I think it was technically a fumble. Or do they call it incomplete pass? I can't quite remember, but I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. Where Dexter Lawrence, 4th quarter, it's like right here, goes right through his hands. Like, oh my gosh, just catch that, and the game is over. But yeah, I haven't seen a Dexter. I don't even know if he has a QB hit this year. He was double teamed a lot yesterday, but still, I mean, that's a guy. He should be able to break through those double teams. And this week he's been going against Creed Humphrey, so that's gonna be a fun matchup. Right now, I think Humphrey's probably got the edge because Dexter's not quite looked like himself this year. And for the Yankees, I want to talk about the playoff rotation. I think you go Fried 1, Rodon 2. The 3-4 is where it gets tough. I personally would start Schlittler. He had that one bad start against Toronto, but other than that, he's just been phenomenal. I mean, he throws super hard. I mean, dude's going to be a stud. I'm so glad they did not trade him for like a Eugenio Suarez. But I honestly think the Yankees might go Heel 3. He's got, more experience. I mean, I feel like Heel's a guy, no matter how bad he pitches, he's going to get you 5 innings. That's just how I feel. He walks a lot of batters, but I don't know. He just finds a way somehow. And I love that about a pitcher. I love a pitcher that can, bear down. I mean, like kind of like what Will Warren did last night. You get off to a rough start, maybe you walk a few guys, give up a homer. I love guys that can just settle in and just give you 5 innings. Even if it's 5 innings of 4-run ball and you start shaky, but your final 3 are scoreless. I just love when pitchers show some grit like that. So I would go Fried, Rodon, Schlittler, Heel, and then no 5, and maybe you put Warren in the pen. I could see them going Fried, Rodon, Heel Schlittler. I mean, I'd be okay with that. I think Schlittler is a slightly better option right now than Heel. But, I mean, it's close. It's pretty close. That is what I would do for the Yankees. So, we're running a little long. We still have a bit more to go, but let's keep it going. So, this week in history, I found some older ones this week. I use ChatGPT for these. I think it's just the easiest way to do it. I might have to find a new way because I'm not getting like great things. Like everything I get when I first search is like pretty recent. But here's what I found. So September 15th, 1963, this was the Giants season opener. And the Giants defeated the Baltimore Colts 37-8. And they were trailing 21-3 in the second quarter. But Y.A. Tittle threw for 243 and 3 touchdowns. I just love that name, Y.A. Tittle. Always love seeing his name when I go to Giants games, like in the Ring of Honor or whatever. But shout out Y.A. Tittle, shout out the Giants. Coming back, showing some fight, similar to the team that we saw yesterday. And for the Yankees, on September 8th, 1925. So exactly 100 years ago, a week ago, Babe Ruth hit his 300th career home run against the Boston Red Sox, and the Yankees won 7-4. So that's pretty interesting about like 100-year anniversary of Babe Ruth hitting his 300th career homer. But I'm going to get one more swig of water, and we will get into the looking forward section of the podcast. All right, so first for the New York Yankees, they will be on the road this week. They will take on the Minnesota Twins in Minnesota in a 3-game set. Feels like they absolutely dominate the Twins, especially since Aaron Boone has been the manager. I want to sweep. I'm going to be honest. I want to sweep here. And then they go play Baltimore for 4. I feel like they also always typically do well in Baltimore. Got to go at least 5-2, in my opinion. Got to go at least 5-2, win both series. If they lose a series, or if they go like 3-4 worse, the AL East is almost certainly going to be out of reach. I want to look up the Toronto Blue Jays schedule, see where they're looking, because the Yankees have an easy schedule the rest of the way. So Toronto is playing Tampa Bay in a 3-game set. And then they play Kansas City in a 3-game set. They do still have to play Boston, but then they play Toronto. The Yankees, they have Minnesota, they have Baltimore twice, and then they have the Pirates. So they have an easy schedule the rest of the way. We just need the Blue Jays to lose and the Yankees to win. As we look forward, the Yankees are 83-66. They are 4 games back in the AL East with 12 to play. They're up 1.5 on Boston. They're up 2.5 on the Astros, not the Mariners. I didn't realize the Mariners are now winning the American League West, and they're up 4.5 on Texas, who are on the outside looking in currently in the wild card. So overall, got to go. I mean, you don't have to, but like I want to see 5-2 or better against teams of the caliber of the Twins and Orioles. And I think that's about it for the Yankees. So for the Giants, they will be playing on Sunday night against Kansas City. Before the game yesterday, I was really worried for this game. I'm still worried because Kansas City, they're like made for prime time, it feels like, and the Giants are not. I have a stat here for you guys. So since taking over in 2022, the Giants are 2-9 on primetime and have gotten blown out a few times. Once against Dallas, once against San Francisco. They've just struggled in primetime. And hopefully now under Russell Wilson, they don't have Daniel Jones. Hopefully under Russell Wilson, they will maybe be a little bit better on primetime with his experience and everything. This is their home opener. So if you guys are going to the game, you got to be loud. Just make sure there's a home field advantage because the Giants, they could use us right now at 0-2. I mean, they got Kansas City, they got the Chargers. Then they play the Saints, which is easier, but then they got to play the Eagles, the Broncos, and the Eagles again. So Giants need every win they can get right now. They need every advantage they can get right now. So if you're going to the game, don't quit on the team because they're 0-2. Don't do it. Stick behind them. This game is winnable. I know it sounds crazy. 6.5 point underdogs last time I checked. This game is winnable. Kansas City is vulnerable. They have weaknesses. The Giants can win this game. I genuinely believe that. I feel a lot more confident now. Yesterday, you saw my prediction, 24-10. That was my score prediction. I was way off on that. There were more points scored in the fourth quarter alone than what I predicted for the whole game. I don't want to get too high of expectations. Am I expecting the Giants to win? No, but it is winnable. I could see Patrick Mahomes just dicing up this defense. Hopefully Xavier Worthy doesn't play, but I saw he is expected to play. But we will see. They don't have Rashee Rice. Kelsey, I'm worried about him because of the lack of linebackers, even in the Giants' room right now. And even if they sign someone this week, I don't know if they'll quite be ready for the game on Sunday. Trying to see what other notes I have here. Also on primetime, the Giants have averaged under 16 points a game under Brian Dable. So, yeah, that's not good. Red zone struggles. Got to be better in the red zone against a team like Kansas City. You can't give them, you can't take 3 when you need 7, which is what they've been doing. In the last couple of games, you got to punch it in the red zone. Have to punch it in. Find a way. I didn't talk about Jackson Dart at all coming in for a couple plays. The first time was great. Scadaboo, the run, that was phenomenal. The second time, I was like, okay. I mean, he got the first down. The third time, like that's too much. I think twice is enough. I think Dart in the red zone would be good. I think that is a time to genuinely bring Jackson Dart in the game. They need a red zone package for that because they've just been struggling in the red zone. Just, mix it up, try something different, see how it goes. What else do I got here? Hopefully they can establish the run. Again, yesterday they averaged 4 yards a carry. Before that, the game against Washington, I believe they averaged 2 yards a carry. I think they were 15 for 30, which is horrific. So, see if they can establish the run. I am really worried about Chris Jones against John Michael Schmitz and Greg Van Roten. That could be ugly. Might have to have Scadaboo and Singletary help block a little bit more. I mean, Chris Jones is a game record, but we have game records on our side too. We have Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter. Those guys need to make Patrick Mahomes' life a living hell. They got to get pressure. They don't have the greatest weapons, but this is Patrick Mahomes that we're talking about. This is one of the best quarterbacks ever, and got to make it tough for him. So be loud, get pressure. Hopefully the secondary can just hold their ground, honestly. I want to see a Javon Holland big play. They brought him in, gave him a lot of money, even Paulson Debo. One of those two, make a play. Make a play this upcoming week. And I think that's about all that I have got for next week. It's kind of tough for me to really prepare for next week's game on a Monday. So make sure you guys follow me on my socials. I apologize for the lack of short form content on there. I've just been super busy lately. My main focus is YouTube. I just want to make sure I get in Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I want to make sure I get these podcasts out the same time on Monday, 6 p.m. every week. That's my main focus. If I have the time to make the short form videos, great. If not, I'm not going to totally lose sleep over it. But yeah, if you guys are on YouTube, make sure you guys like and subscribe, follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, leave a good review, and I will see you in the next one.